right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another Showdown breakdown. We're my Turds at show, where we're going to take a look at tonight's Draftkings and Fanduel showdown between the Broncos and the Chiefs. And of course, the Chiefs are at home as 12.5-point massive favorites in a game with a pretty high total. The team total for the Chiefs is 32 points, and for the Broncos, it is a lowly 19 points. Couple of defensive stats of note. I don't know that it matters, but Broncos are not that good versus the run, 19th overall in DVOA. Their pass defense is better, 5th in DVOA. So you'd think, hey, path of least resistance, running game for the Chiefs, but they don't like to run it. But it's important to note that, if they try, it's probably going to be there for them. On the defensive side for the Chiefs, they are the worst team in the league against the run, and they're pretty good against the pass, coming in 13th overall, but nothing special. Obviously, the Chiefs have been blowing out opposing teams all season, so there's no reason for them to really play that tough, and that's why the defensive numbers don't look that good. They're just smashing everybody, and that's why the numbers don't look that good. So let's take a look at these two teams real quick and just get a sense of what to expect here, or for an overall, right? The general consensus is, even here, Robert's asking about 5-to-1 stacks. By the way, you guys who are having troubles with the website, let me just show you real quick. I'm just going to show you this on my screen. The best way, I can just access it. It's working. If you're having trouble, you probably need to clear your cache. But the best way to see where something's not cleared is to use your incognito window. So look what I just did. This is Chrome. I'm just giving you a quick lesson in how to use the interwebs. Chrome, new incognito window, DFS Army. Right up. So use incognito if you're having trouble still accessing the website. Okay, so back to this game. People are already talking about onslaughts, but I want to make an argument against it. We expect the Chiefs to destroy the Broncos here. Of course, that's going to happen. But that doesn't mean that players from the Broncos aren't going to be scoring. So the Broncos team has a bunch of underpriced pass catchers on DraftKings today. Let's go over them, and we'll talk about who's who. All right, so if you take a look at the Broncos here, Drew Lock, expensive, priced $9,200, not very good at quarterback, but he could bring it around. And in cash games, if you want to play this guy, great, you can. But what I'm more interested in, all right, so the first thing we learned in looking at the defense is that the Chiefs aren't very good against the run. The problem for me with playing the running backs from the Broncos is I don't like playing running backs on massive underdog teams. They don't tend to run heavy. I could see Melvin Gordon, for example, smashing a couple touchdowns home, but I don't really see like a run-heavy game plan where he gets 20 touches in this game. And for that salary, that's a little bit much. Who am I interested in? Starting with Jerry Jeudy. He appears to be healthy. He's expected to play. Judy's a talented receiver, and he's always open, and wide receivers accumulate fantasy points really quickly on FanDuel and especially DraftKings. So I'm really interested in these wide receivers, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick. Noah Fant, man, it's hard for me to get on board the Fant train after just so many disappointments, but he's certainly in play for the Broncos. And one of my favorites here, guys, KJ Hamler, 1,800. This is what's going to make your lineups work today. Let's show the matchup sheet to give you an idea. KJ Hamler, 65% of the snaps last week, 65% of the snaps for the team. He's out there all the time. He's up there with Tim Patrick. He's up there even above Jerry Jeudy. So this guy's on the field constantly, and he's 1,800. I'm interested in that just for the cheapness of it. Deshaun Hamilton's out there a bit too, but I think that he's kind of in the Jerry Jeudy role. When Jerry Jeudy kind of comes out, then Deshaun Hamilton. I don't expect that to continue. If we look at the season totals, it's Jeudy, Patrick, and right now KJ Hamler really taking over as the slot wide receiver for the Broncos. So not that I love any of these guys. I don't love these guys, but it doesn't take much. And in order to fit a good lineup filled with as much Chiefs talent as we can squeeze into a team, we've got to play some of those turds. So that pretty much covers the players of interest on the Denver side. It's really just, getting, for my turds, you could play some Tim Patrick, not Tim Patrick, Philip Lindsay. He's a talented, explosive running back. So he's one of these guys that I want to mix into my lineups in tournaments, not a cash play. Tournament kind of guy. He could definitely break one against a bad defensive team. And I could see when the Broncos are down big, by what, the first half or by the second quarter. By the second quarter, I can see Philip Lindsay being in the game a lot more as the pass catcher / long down and distance back. So we can get a little bit of surprise GPP goodness out of Philip Lindsay here. Hoist Freeman, I really don't have any interest in. Deshaun Hamilton is a turd. So that's the Denver side. And again, we want to use the Denver players to afford more Chiefs in our lineups. Now, if Bobby Wow was here, let's check. Oh, we could check his sheet. He does the draft. But if Bobby Wow was here, Bobby would be playing some of these guys. Like Bobby will play Jerry Jeudy at captain. Like he'll roll him in captain. He'll roll Hamler in captain. Guys like that. Cheap guys. Because again, you might be thinking that's fucking crazy. Why are you going to play Jerry Jeudy as a captain? Why are you going to play fucking KJ Hamler or even Tim Patrick as a captain? The Broncos suck. The Chiefs are going to smash them. I want to play 5-1 things. But in order to fit a lineup on DraftKings, you've got to do this. You can't if you throw in the studs from the Chiefs and captain, just can't afford very much else. So, you want to play Tyreek Hill or you want to play Kelsey, you want to play Hill. You can't afford this approach. It doesn't work. So in order to make, a Chiefs heavy lineup even work, you've got to do something cheaper. And that's one option for the captain spot, just throwing in like a Jerry Jeudy over there. And if he has a good game, well, now I'm affording a lot more than I thought I could before. Now you could kind of get a pretty nice lineup going here. Even one that features Hill, Kelsey, and Mahomes. That's not terrible. Like, that's fine. So you can get that combination in there. Or something even better, like, Bell, or we can even maybe switch maybe a Sammy Watkins into the captain spot. So a lot of options for loading up on the Chiefs by mixing in some of these cheap Broncos players. I don't know if this is even helpful. You'll see a little Sammy Watkins in the slot, I think. So let's get into the Chiefs side of the football here. We'll go to the matchups tool. This is the best way to understand who's on the field. I really like this tool for just breaking these games down. So looking at the matchups tool, we can take a look at the Chiefs. Now, obviously, Tyreek Hill is coming off of an epic smash game where he broke a slate wide open. Who is today's RB1? It's going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But look, Helaire, he's getting about half the touches. Not much work in the passing game. They're not throwing to the running backs much, but that could change on a dime. And as this is Showdown, anything can happen. So Helaire is definitely in play. And I would say that you probably almost want to use him in cash. He could probably get a touchdown here along the way. Let's check the props on Helaire. So yeah, here we go. 50 yards. Only 11 rushing attempts. That's the problem with the Chiefs. They're not going to be a heavy run-focused game. Only 12 receiving yards. So it's going to take a pretty special game. 50-50 shot at a touchdown for Helaire. So nothing special there. Let's check Gordon real quick just to see what Melvin is looking like. 50 yards, 12 rushing attempts. Again, the same. This is the same exact numbers except worse to score a touchdown compared to Helaire. So it's not looking great. So getting back to the matchups tool, Kansas City, what are they doing? They're leaving the trio of Hill, Kelsey, and Demarcus Robinson in the game most of the time with Mecole Hardman coming in on on specialty play. So it's going to be Hill, Watkins, Robinson with Kelsey at tight end, and Hardman coming in on occasion for a splash play. Mecole Hardman can open a slate. He could be that turd that breaks it open for you tonight. He's fairly cheap on DraftKings. Let's take a look. Hardman. Don't want him. Yeah, he is actually not cheap. He's too. Wait. That's wrong. Okay, there we go. He is fairly cheap on DraftKings, and if he does do his hard man thing, he's going to break the slate open. So keep that in mind. I'm hearing here that the Eagles have switched to Jalen Hurts. It's about time. Eagles fans, congratulations on a new era. Carson Wentz, moving on to backup quarterback status for the rest of his career. So maybe you'll get another shot at some time, Carson Wentz. But I think the Eagles need to move on from Carson Wentz. So hopefully that just happened. All right. So when looking at the Chiefs side of the football, though, obviously, last week it was Tyreek Hill. He's now very priced up. Let's take a look at ownerships. This is really the most important thing because showdowns are all about leverage. So let's take a look at flex ownership on DraftKings. We've got Mahomes coming in 55% in the flex with Hill at 45, Kelsey right around the same 45, and then Hilaire 30. So get an idea of the ownerships here. You can get Hardman at 10%. That's very low. Good leverage right there. Jerry Jeudy, who I like a lot on the Broncos side, only 22% owned. Let's see what Tim Patrick is. About the same, 20%. And KJ Hamler, only 13%. I like him as a bargain play. Taking a look at captain ownership. Again, most people are going to play Pat Mahomes at captain on DraftKings. And I think that's the best way to go in cash games. I don't mind Kelsey there. I don't mind Tyreek Hill. Hill's a tougher sell for me at captain just because he's the same price as Mahomes, and Mahomes is going to have a higher floor. He's about the same as Mahomes. Mahomes is going to much higher cash floor than Tyreek Hill because, again, Tyreek Hill, A, is coming extreme recency bias, and B, he's still a wide receiver, and there are still like 5 or 6 of them on this team, so it's not a lock that Mahomes is going to smash. If Edwards doesn't play, I'm assuming you mean Edward Hilaire. Is Bella a good cat? Yes. So if you guys know anything about Clyde not going to play, I don't think that's the case. I think he's playing. But, I mean, if he doesn't, then hell yeah, we're going to load the fuck up on Le'Veon Bell all in. Yeah, asking good questions. Hardman I do like as a GPP captain. Yes. You could play guys like that. Now, is he's going to be, what's he going to be? Let's check the ownership. So Hardman's going to come in at like no ownership. So what does that mean? That means in GPP, you don't need to, if you're running 20 lineups, don't do 50% with Hardman, but do like 2. If that's a lean that you have, because if he does go off and smash the slate, it's not likely for him to do it because he's only in the game 30% of the time. But, he's a big play guy. He could have 3 receptions, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, shit like that happened once with Traquan Smith, broke a slate open. That's how you win $1 million. So there's nothing I'm really not going to tell you to do to try to win $1 million in a giant GPP. The best thing you could do is just not be obvious with your approach. And we know who the chalk is going to be, and I'm going to tell you right now, like I said, I know my boy Bobby Wow, who wins these. The first thing he says is, 27%, the most owned, I'm not playing him at captain. Who's the most owned guy? He's fading him at captain. You can't, I don't suggest, you can even fade Mahomes in the flex because there's a lot of scenarios where you couldn't afford Mahomes because you needed Hill, Kelsey, and, one other guy and, some other players that couldn't fit all together. So Hardman has not been in the nuts lineup, even in games where he's smashed, because when he's smashing, the players around him are smashing. You get them all in there together. It's a little different on Fanduel. Well, let's take a look at the sheet. Showdown sheet for DraftKings. Here we go. Josh's sheet. He likes Pat Mahomes as a very good captain play. Let's see who's the cat. They're all GPP plays. So Mahomes, great spot though. You could play him at captain in cash for sure. I'll probably lean Kelsey over Hill in cash games if I needed to put one of these guys in there. But in my ideal world in cash, I kind of want to do something like this where I get Kelsey, Hill, and Mahomes in the lineup together. And that means finding a captain, maybe that's different. Let's see what it looks like with Kelsey as a captain. Doesn't leave much money, doesn't leave much salary. So we got to go all the way down to KJ Hamler, who's one of my turds that I like. We got to go to Le'Veon Bell, and then you can get, either Philip Lindsay or Harrison Butker or something like that going. The best part of this is we get a lot of Kansas City players. It's a cash onslaught. I'm not in love with this approach, but it works. The other way to go is to do something like putting Jerry Jeudy, like I said, like I did before, which I kind of like. I kind of like that approach, or Tim Patrick even, and then you can get Hill, Kelsey, and Mahomes. My goal is to get Hill, Kelsey, and Mahomes in the lineup together. I think I like Jeudy better than Tim Patrick, so let's see if we can make it work with Jerry Jeudy, and it leaves you with 3,300. I don't really like Le'Veon Bell, so let's see what we can do here. 28.5. Again, we go back to Hamler, and then no, I don't like it. So no, I don't like that approach. Yeah, Patrick may be the guy. Let's see what the target share is for Patrick here real quick. Yeah, I mean, Patrick is getting 25% of the looks, 20%. He's getting the same amount of targets as Jeudy. Judy's just a better player, but I don't mind the Tim Patrick approach because the math works just a little bit better with Tim Patrick in there. You can probably get Jerry Jeudy into that lineup and then close it out. Oh, doesn't quite fit Hamler. Damn. Okay. Can't fit Jerry Jeudy. So in this case, we might have to go something like Butker. I like getting the kicker in a cash game, and then maybe Le'Veon Bell or something like that. So a couple of interesting paths for cash on DraftKings, but the main thing is I want to make sure I have at least Mahomes and Kelsey in my cash lineup. From there, you can either go Tyreek Hill, or there's other ways of kind of putting a lineup together without Hill that involve like Drew Lock and Jerry Jeudy. Something like this would be a little more even, but that's not how I feel like I want to get Tyreek in there too. I want to squeeze them all in there. Get them all in. Now, Robert's asking about FanDuel. So let's talk FanDuel real quick. It's a little more basic. Let's take a look at the FanDuel sheet, and we can take a look at the domination station. But the ultimate play on FanDuel is just to play Mahomes. So FanDuel is easier in a sense, guys. I like FanDuel for showdowns because they're easier. But on the flip side, what I don't like about FanDuel is you win a showdown and you tie with 1 million people and you don't make money, especially when you mass enter. So, keeping that in mind. Mahomes is far and away the best play on FanDuel at MVP. You start out your cash lineup with Mahomes at the captain spot. You don't need to really even worry about stacking too much here, but obviously Mahomes is going to wind up just in general with his pass catches because you're going to have a lot of those guys. So you start off your lineup with Mahomes. You're going to get Kelsey in there. Now, in our perfect world, we want to get Tyreek Hill in there too, and then just finish it out with whoever the hell we can squeeze in, and let's see if it's even possible. KJ Hamler. Yeah, you could do KJ Hamler and Harrison Butker, and boom, that's a beautiful cash lineup. You got the kicker. You've got the 3 studs from the Chiefs. Now, of course, with our luck, it's going to be that game where Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes off. I mean, you could fit Helaire instead, and if you wanted to do something like that, you could probably get a little bit something better going here, like a Helaire, maybe Patrick or Fant or some combination that's a little sexier. But I really like Butker. I kind of like that first one that I did. Just play the studs. Some people would argue that playing the quarterback from Denver is a better play than for example, Tyreek Hill. That's a fair argument. The problem is if I'm doing that, who else am I squeezing into this lineup? I guess it's a KJ Hamler. So 2 ways to go, I think, in cash games. Ben, if you're playing Bell and Clyde Edwards-Helaire in cash, okay. You know what? It's at least I just don't think it's the most obvious. I think the Chiefs have been throwing a lot, but yeah, Hilaire's probably going to score in this game. So I mean, you could get to Helaire. Maybe Hilaire is the play here. Actually, probably is. But my big problem is Hilaire just doesn't always do well. But you can get to it. So if you want to do something like that, you could do Hilaire. Again, I'd still stick with Butker. And maybe the problem is when I get to Hilaire, the pay down didn't really get me any other good player in this lineup. You probably almost have to get off of Butker in this situation and kind of do something like Hilaire. I mean, I don't want to pay up for Gordon. So maybe Judy, but I don't really want to pay for that either. I still want to get Tyreek in there, but you can't. So you can't get Tyreek. You can't get Drew Lock. You know, it just doesn't work. So in order to do this, you pretty much have to go mid. I don't know, the fucking Kendall Hinton. They really priced up Kendall Hinton. Really, guys? Really? 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 It's Tim Patrick and like Jerry Judy or something like that. I don't really like it. I like the first one better. I think I like the version better. For me, this one stands out as really good. Just hey, I get my 3 super studs in here. I get my kicker. So I have so much of the this is more cashy. I have so much of the Chiefs tied up, and who's left, I'll throw in, hey, I'd go all freaking KC if I could, but you can't. So you throw in like a KJ Hamler or something like that. So a few different ways to go here. This is more of a cash approach. In tournaments, you got to do something unique and different, and that's where the Mecole Hardmans of the world come in. My turds, the Mecole Hardman. Let's get a look at some of the turds from this game. Just overall. Obviously, Mecole Hardman, I mentioned him. Demarcus Robinson. How much is Demarcus Robinson on man, way too much. But there you go. I mean, there's Demarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins. Those are the names that are going to be lower owned that have a chance of helping us to the promised land. Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay. Those are pretty much the turds in this game. So I think as you're making your tournament lineups, those are the names that you want to mix in. The KJ Hamlers. Deshaun Hamilton's out there a little bit. I don't know about Troy Fumagalli or Nick Vanette. You know, that's a bit too far for my taste. But, you know, those guys are the ones that will get you there. Let's see what Bobby Wow has to say about the turd zone. Yeah, Nick Vanette, he's got a turd for Deshaun Hamilton. Vanette, you know, okay, he could get there. He can get you there for cheap, 5,500. Le'Veon Bell's not a great play. Butker's great. Always want the kicker from a team that's favored to score a lot. Yeah, and Tim Patrick and Jerry Judy. There's enough cheapness on the starting wide receivers for the Broncos that we don't really have to like throw that much garbage into our lineups in this particular showdown, especially on DraftKings. I just don't see why you would need to do much worse than like a KJ Hamler, who's fine. Or, you know, in an ideal scenario, trying to squeeze like a Jerry Judy or a Tim Patrick in there. Even better. Ooh, I like that. There you go. That's interesting. Judy, Patrick, Mahomes. Oh no. 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 Where's Reek? Get Reek in there. Once you get Reek in there, yeah, didn't work. I like KJ Hamler. I think KJ Hamler's the guy that makes it all work. But, you know, in my perfect world, this would fit together, and it doesn't. So we'll have to figure that out. But, you know, that'll do it, guys. Do you have any, if you don't have any questions, anyone, in terms of this showdown? Again, let's take a look at the Dom station. Last minute, can see that on DraftKings, you're going to have a pretty wide mix of players. I think that the move is to play pass catchers always on DraftKings. So I'm going to be focused personally on cycling through the Hills, the Kelseys, the Judys, and the Hamlers and the Patricks, just getting a little bit of that little taste of that in my captain spot in tournaments, trying to figure out, who people aren't going to be on that I can get onto. And you get a lot of leverage at these low ownership guys. It's very easy for 5% Judy to get leverage on that. Or even Noah Fant, who I don't love. Or Tim Patrick, 3% owned. That's where I want to get or Mecole Hardman, I think, is my favorite because you can get him at 0.058. Michael's asking, 2QB is always a fine way to go in cash games, Michael. I don't think I want to go there in tournaments, but 2QB is always fine. It's just, Drew Lock's just not that good. But I think Drew Lock comes in, and again, it's the Chiefs. The Chiefs going to be up big, and, the Broncos are going to have to answer. And Drew Lock can get you to 20 points if he has a great game. He could also do nothing. So, I'd rather have Tyreek Hill because he's got a lot of, like I said, I'm not saying no Drew Lock. You could play Drew Lock. I just don't, you have to make a decision, right? When you're making your cash lineup, you got to make a decision. You got to make a decision between Tyreek Hill or Drew Lock. Can't play them both. So it's like, what do you want to do? You want to play Drew Lock? I don't mind Kelsey at the captain. How about that? What's left? That's Drew Lock, Mahomes with no, a lineup with no Tyreek Hill. You could fit a couple of these other guys in there. You can get where's Watkins? Oh, doesn't leave you much room. Again, you go back to Hamler and maybe Jerry Jeudy. So, this would be a version of a cash lineup, Kelsey, but you don't have Tyreek Hill. So those are the differences. All right, Cedric and the rules. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think you should make a lot of rules. They're just not necessary. If you start making a rule, for example, I don't want 2 kickers. For the rules are no 2 kickers. Definitely not 2 defenses. I don't really want any Denver defense. I'm not super excited about the Denver kicker, but you don't need to make a lot of rules because it's going to be very obvious here. If you play a Mahomes lineup and you have a rule forcing 2 pass catchers, there's going to be a lot of times you can't afford the lineup. So you don't want to make that rule because that might rule you out of a win. If I play Drew Lock at captain, which I have no intention of doing, I will not play him at captain. But if I did, I would make a rule 2 pass catchers. But I'm not playing him at captain. I don't think he's going to outscore players on the Chiefs, so he's not going to be my captain. So I don't need that rule. If I'm playing a Chiefs wide receiver captain, I don't need a Mahomes rule because, again, Mahomes is so expensive that there are scenarios where that doesn't hit the nuts. So I'm going to say ease off on the rules. If you're planning on playing Drew Lock for some reason, or even if you're playing, let's say the only rule I might be interested in is, and I'm not even 100% on this, is like if Jerry Jeudy or Tim Patrick is captain, maybe making sure that Drew Lock is in that lineup. Maybe that's about it. And even that I don't think is necessary. Not on Draftkings. On Fanduel, yeah, probably. But on Draftkings, not necessary. Because those guys can get there without Drew Lock having a good game. Tim Patrick, think about it. Think about how he gets to the nuts captain. Number one, he's not the highest scorer, but he's cheap, so he fits in there. He gets 20 fantasy points, he gets there. Well, how does he get to 20? What if he gets 100 yards and 5 receptions? Doesn't even score a touchdown. That gets him to 20. That puts him in the nuts. He's not even having a great game, and that doesn't mean that Drew Lock is having a great game. So not many rules here, guys. Don't overrule. The only rule I might make is no 2 kickers on any team. No 2 defenses for sure. And that's it. Stick with that. I'm not even making a rule for Mahomes. Nope. No rule. Mahomes my captain, I don't care. Because again, Mahomes my captain, number one, it's going to wind up with some players from the Broncos anyway, because I've got, we're going to be loading up on those Broncos players. And number two, forcing Tyreek Hill with Mahomes, it doesn't leave any salary. If you're playing Clyde Edwards-Helaire captain, I would make a rule, no Broncos defense. But that's it. That's the only rule. Don't go crazy with the rules tonight. This is a weird game. Every game's a weird game. This is it's not going to be a competitive game, but I think that the Broncos players are going to potentially put up some points in garbage time to where we need to have exposure to them, even in a losing effort. So keep that in mind. Good luck tonight, everybody. Let's see those helmets at the top of those tournaments.